AWWA would like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, HD Supply Waterworks, an operating division of HD Supply. HD Supply is the nation's largest distributor of infrastructure products that serves both contractors and municipalities in all aspects of the water, wastewater, clean water, landfill, energy, and fire protection industries. HD Supply Waterworks is dedicated to taking care of each other, our communities, and our environment. As a leader in the waterworks industry, the company is proud to sponsor today's event to help foster collaboration among key stakeholders in remedying this common concern of lead service line replacement. They are represented here today by Andy Santee, Director of Marketing and 26-year AWWA member. Thank you, HD Supply.
Welcome to this American Waterworks Association special event, Getting the Lead Out. Vital tips from leading utility managers. Presented at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. And here is your moderator, the CEO of the American Waterworks Association, David LaFrance.
Okay, today's final speaker before our brief break will be Randy Roost. His utility began its lead service line replacements over 10 years ago. Randy is the principal planner of water operations for Lansing Board of Water and Light in Michigan. He will be discussing Lansing's replacement program and its goal to have all lead service lines, both the public and the private side, which is all owned by his utility, replaced by June 2017, so just a little over a year from now. Randy?
Okay. Dave just took like half the thunder out of my presentation. You know, the difference that we do have, okay, is that, as Dave mentioned, we're a municipal utility. We're not that different from Boston in size. I was surprised about that. We have a little over 800, about 830 miles of main. To their 1,000, we have 59,000 customers. We're 100% groundwater supply. Goes to one of two treatment plants in our utilities, and we do about 22 million gallons a day is all we do. But hopefully some of you have seen these pictures previously. If you're regular readers of the journal, you'll have seen the articles about our treatment plant in there. As Dave said, we're unique in that we took over all of our lead service lines back in 1927. Back in the mid-1920s, a number of our customers were experiencing problems with their service lines, and so we made them the offer. We said, tell you what, we'll take on the responsibility for the entire service line in exchange for establishing a rate that allowed that to be built into our rate structure, and we've been doing that ever since then. So it puts us in a little bit of a unique perspective in that there is no utility-owned, customer-owned, it's all ours. We own all of it. We stopped installing our lead service lines in 1956, and it seems like we've been replacing those lead lines ever since that point in time. The benefit of being the owner of both sides of the main, the public and the private, is that we had very, very good records of where we had lead and where we did not have lead. And we had a combination of just lead on the curb side versus lead on the homeowner side. And our service cards have been kept up to date very well ever since that point in time also. And then in the 1980s, when we were doing our GIS system, we went through and we made sure that we included all of that information into the GIS. And we also took into account anything that was galvanized, and we considered that non-standard as well. So anything that's not just lead, but lead or galvanized is being replaced as non-standard. And then another unique perspective that we did is in 2004, we sent out letters to all of our customers and asked them to self-identify what their service type was coming through the wall in their house. And we actually got a very good response rate. About 30% of our customers returned the little survey cards and telling us whether, based on the scratching it, whether it looks like a nickel or a penny or whatever, or just the pictures that we had included showing the connections on it, whether it was lead or whether it was not lead. And it matched very well with our other records that we had. So our inventory showed that in the early 1990s we had about 17,000 lead service lines in our system. And that was based on not only our GIS system, but our other customer information system records. And so just prior to 2004, there was the issue with lead going on in Washington, D.C., and we had some legislators in Michigan that were local to the city of Lansing also, and decided, you know what, we need to do something here within our state to move this forward. So we put together a lead service team. We proposed a 14-year program to replace all of our lead services, and our board had the forethought to say, nope, 14 years is too long. We want them replaced in 10. So we've been replacing them on an accelerated schedule since 2004. And as of today, I think the number that they texted me this morning is we are down to about 436 lead service lines in our system that we know are active service lines. I want to differentiate between the active and the inactive service lines. And the average age of those is about 1931, so we know we're still working in some of the older portions of our system. So some of the factors that we run into as part of our replacement program, of course, in Michigan we have a lot of basements, but we do also have houses that are sitting on a slab. We found that the cost goes up slightly when the house is on a slab rather than coming through the basement wall. They're going under driveways, they're going under porches, they're going under all kinds of things. And then we also have an issue with meter pits. While most of our meters are inside the house, we do have a number that are in meter pits, and our responsibility ends at the meter. But on those, the meter pit itself is owned by the customer, and it's just the meter within that pit that is owned by us. We also have some issues with crew mobilization and record keeping. We do not do any partial lead service replacements. If we go out and we have to, let's say there's an emergency, there's a main break or a service line leak, and we go out and we investigate it, if we find that it's a lead service, we will replace from the main to the curb stop, and then we physically will not reconnect the portion from the curb stop to the customer's house until the homeowner has been contacted and we can finish the job that day. So we will have people sitting there on standby, waiting, and then as soon as we get approval from the customer that they're home, we'll go in and we'll finish the job. Now, we know that that has involved some overtime, and we're willing to pay that overtime because we know that we can get in and we can complete the job all at once. And then, of course, like most people, we do a pretty good job of making sure that if we can knock off 8 or 9 services within one block in a day, we'll try to get all of those with a couple of crews working in that area, do it all at one time so that when the city comes in to repave afterwards, we can reduce our mobilization costs. So here's a look at the number of service lines that we've replaced over the course of the years. And you can see leading up to 2004, we were just doing like most utilities were. And as we were doing a main replacement project, we would get rid of the lead services at that time. We started ramping up the program in 2004, and our peak year was in 2008. We did 1,984 service replacements in 1 year. Now, that was not done all with just our crews. We have between 2 to 3 full-time lead service replacement crews, but we had the city sewer separation project, and as part of that, we had Board of Water and Light approved contractors making those service replacements under the oversight of having a BWL inspector on the job, making sure they were doing it properly. So like a lot of you, we had to try and prioritize which services we were going to replace first. So this is the sequencing that we use in determining how to do that. First of all, if we're doing any type of disturbance on the service, that gets an automatic priority. We know that the lead levels spike anytime you disturb the service, so that's a big one. That's our number one. We then looked at the services supplying schools, daycare centers, even things such as OBGYN clinics, because we know that there are people there that with the health of infants and so forth, we wanted to be very careful of doing those. We then took a look at those sample sites where we had already detected a sample level exceeding the 15 parts per billion action level, and those were replaced. Then we took a look at where we could have some savings due to the CSO replacement or road reconstruction projects. Then the last one, of course, and this was an interesting one because we have information on all of our lead services, we took a look at the length of the lead service line, whether it was just the main to curb box or curb box to building, or the total on that, and the longer ones were the ones that we put on a priority basis. So, you heard Kathy talk a little bit about engaging the customers, and this is an area that we believe that we really excelled in. One, we made it very clear to our customers we will not do a repair on a lead service line. We will replace it at that point in time. So in 2004, we did things such as, we put out the bill stuffers, we put out the brochures, we had some open houses. I'll talk about that in a minute. We added further recommendations and customer precautions to our water quality report that we all have to issue annually. And as time has gone on, we've learned that our community has less and less concern over the lead service lines out there because they know that we are constantly in contact with them and informing them on things. So that goes to the next, situation where we've sent out letters numerous times to our customers. And we don't send out just a letter to those people that have a lead service line. We send out 3 different letters. One is that we know you do not have a lead service line, so don't worry about it. We send out one that says, yes, we do know that you have a lead service line, and we would like for you to contact us and arrange to have it replaced. And we give them tips in that letter as well, also about things they can do to minimize their risk. Or the third letter is, we don't know. You're one of our unknowns in the system, and we would like for you to contact us so we can send somebody out to verify whether or not it's lead or not. And then, of course, we have, anytime we have an emergency condition such as a service break or anything like that, we take that opportunity to talk with the customer and make sure that they're aware of what their service is. So what are some of the hurdles that we've run into? Well, of course, access is the biggest one. And as you start to get into a point where if you are replacing the portion from the curb box to the building, what is typically the customer-owned portion, we've made that a condition of service. It's in our rules and regulations. We have the right to enter onto our customer's property to operate and maintain our service line at any time. But we don't just go in and knock on the door. We send people out there. We coordinate with all of our homeowners, but getting access is difficult. There are a lot of people, especially as we're getting down to the last few hundred, they do not want to let us in their house. Now, there may be a number of reasons why they don't want you in the house. There may be activities going on in there that they don't want you to see. We do not report anything to the local authorities of what we find in the house. But surprisingly, another large area is people that are hoarders. They're just embarrassed of the fact that you can't even get to the water meter in their basement, or it's just so filthy in there because that's where their pets seem to want to go do their business. So we have our crews, if our crews enter into a facility and they find that it's unsafe for any reason, they have the right to pull back out immediately, and we'll reassess the situation and move on from there. Easements. We do not have easements for our service lines on customer property. As I said before, it's a condition of our rules and regulations for service. It's been in that for many, many years. There are probably very few homeowners that have owned their house since 1927 that we're still dealing with as customers today. And then, of course, we've had some issues with boring through the walls in the basements. Disputes will come from that. Can be very expensive at times, but we deal with that. Then, of course, there's the issue of yard restoration. When we're done, we will take the yard back to grade, black dirt, seed, and from that point on, it's the customer's responsibility on the homeowner's side. We will take efforts to try and protect a tree. We'll take efforts to try and protect a few other things. But for the most part, the homeowners are just thankful to have the lead service gone, and they're willing to live with that. In a few cases where they've planted trees in the past and it's over the top of the curb stop and the tree's no longer there, they say, while you're here and you got that big backhoe, can you take that stump out for me? Yep, it goes out in the dump truck with us. We don't even question that. So, and of course, budget. We've spent about $42 million so far to date on our project since 2004. They're all replaced as part of our capital improvement program. The ratepayers share in that cost. It's built into our rate structure. We do not do bonding for our replacements. It's just, you figure we're spending about $3 million a year, so that's about 9 or 10% of our of our total utility budget. So one good rate increase, and we've got enough money there now that's generated in order to support the program. At $3 million a year, it doesn't seem like much, but $42 million is still a big number. But if you take a look at what we started with, we had 13,500 when we began in 2004 lead service lines. We replaced all but, like I said, about 436 of those. That brings our cost to about $3,150 per service. So you saw on the video that Dave showed some video clips of our crews out pulling the lead services. We do try to pull them. We make a very small excavation in the road, a very small excavation at the curb stop. We try to do minimal damage inside the house, and it's worked very well for us, and we've been able to keep our cost down substantially. Now, Kathy spoke a few minutes ago about communications, and communications with the customer there again, this is key. One of the things we did back in 2004 is we hosted a number of community open houses, and we did these dispersed throughout various locations in the city. And at these open houses, we had 8 stations. One was a station where customers could come up. We had a computer there tied to our customer information system. They could find out whether they had a lead service or not. We had just general information about lead services, what they look like, what some of the effects are, information about other sources for lead, whether that's from the paint chips that are out there or, previous to that, with the lead in the gasoline. Another station describing what it is that we're doing. Also, just some tips on how the customer could protect themselves from lead, and then just one that generally talked about how our system functions, where our water comes from, the wells and the treatment plants and all of that. In addition to that, we had 2 other stations. One was manned by the local county health departments, so customers could talk with them about any potential health effects related to lead. And the second one was staffed by the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, who is our regulator and primacy agency there within the state, and there again, so that people didn't have to necessarily trust us. They could ask questions directly from the health department or from the regulators. This is just a copy of some of the letters that we sent out to our customers. As I said, we sent out the 3 letters, and we've done this numerous times throughout the program. We didn't just do it in 2004. We've done it 3 or 4 times since then, just so that, because people move in and out of houses all the time. They may not be the same person that was there the last time we sent letters out. And because people that may have had a lead service previously, they weren't concerned about replacing it. We've heard that from a number of people up here. But somebody else has moved into the house now. Maybe they have small children. So one of the other things that we have done is through our customer information system, we have flagged all of our lead services. Anytime there's a turn on or a turn off at that property, we send an immediate notification out to the customer letting them know that you're a new customer at this location and this location has a lead service line. And if you would like it replaced at no cost to you, just give us a call and we'll come in and we'll replace it. And of course, another thing that we have done is making sure that your own employees are well versed so that as they're out there and they're speaking to their friends, their relatives, the people at the church, the people at the social club that they belong to, if they're asked any questions, that they know the right answers to give. We don't want them giving out misinformation. All of our customer service reps were well trained on this. We gave them a set of frequently asked questions so that they could have the proper information. And we told them immediately, if it's something outside of the FAQs, we want you to send that phone call over to our water quality administrator. And then, of course, the last thing that we have done is, once we've gone in and we've replaced the service, we take time to sit down with the customer and go through a flushing plan with the customer. When we get done replacing the service, we will flush out there at the meter for 5 to 7 minutes to make sure that anything, any debris or anything that may have been in the line is removed before we connect it to the meter. We do not make the connection between the meter and the household plumbing. We have a number of plumbers that are on standby. They know where we're going to be working that day, and they know approximately that it takes us about 3 to 4 hours to replace a lead service. So sometime during the day, we're going to call them up and say, come to this residence now. We need you to make that final connection between the household plumbing and ours. And we leave the customers with this letter that explains to the customers that we want you, as a precaution, take the aerators off. We want you to start at the faucets nearest to where the service comes in at and flush for 5 minutes at each one, moving throughout the house so that you've thoroughly flushed out your household plumbing. We also remind them, again, just flush the toilet for the first thing in the morning. Get some of that water moving through the house. So, there again, I think that the benefit that we have is that we're unique in that we own the service. We've been very proactive in making sure that our customers are well informed all along the way, and we have had almost no concerns within the community from anybody that we're not doing the right job. So, thank you.
Thank you. So again, let me thank Randy for allowing us to come up and visit him at his utility and do the video that you all got to see early on. And Randy, it occurred to me as you were talking that the difference of owning the full length of the service line puts you in a unique, although you're not the only utility that has that unique situation, relationship with the customer. But from a customer perspective, do they understand the uniqueness of that and what it enables you to do on their behalf with less complications than others?
If you ask most customers, they will tell you right from the get-go, they don't own any portion of the service line. Nobody's ever told them they own that portion from the curb stop to the building. And I think that's where they just assume that that's part of the utilities. And so when now customers are being told, oh no, that part from the curb into your building is owned by you and you're going to need to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to replace that, they think, well, why should I replace it? That's the utilities. So I think there's kind of a general misperception by just a lot of people because they don't think about the water. It's out of sight, it's out of mind. They turn on the tap, they expect us to provide it. So I think that's a communication issue that we have to be very forthright with on all of our customers and make sure they understand what they own versus what we own.
Great. Thank you very much, Randy.